story, something kind of embarrassing about myself. When I was about 15, I was on the internet, looking through Twitter or Facebook or whatever was hot at the time. And I got curious and I was like, when I was younger, I used to have this avatar account. It was so much fun. Like I would log on and I would talk to people, and like some of these people I didn't even know, but they were so much fun. And like, you could just go into little chat rooms. And I was like, I wonder if that's still all there. And so I started, logging into stuff like Club Penguin, and I was like, I wonder what my, login was and stuff. And then I came across like just all these weird sites, which at the, when I was younger at that time, I was like, this is so much fun. And I'm gonna admit, like, I sat there having fun at like 15 or 16 years old, and I was like, this is cool. Like, like I don't even know these people, but I'm having fun. And like, so I enjoyed it. Like, it was kind of like that innocent, like, like I was like, I don't know what this is, but it's fun. But I think over the years, and as society has moved on and things have been changing with technology and just everything now, I think children and just individuals are becoming a lot more reliant on social media, or just the internet in general. Whether that be like me, where I was like, I wonder what's out there to explore, or you're writing a research paper, or you're looking at YouTube videos, you're trying to learn how to do your makeup and how to blend it well, and like. So, but there's always something out there, and I feel like now at that moment, I think I've come to realize that social media is addicting, and it's not something, some people try to say, no, I don't spend that time on Facebook, but they get home from class and they're like, oh, I wonder what Todd spoke about today on his Facebook post, or like, I wonder what Karen did at school today, or like, I wonder what this person's having for lunch on Instagram, and we become so sucked up in other people's lives that we forget to live our own. So today I want to talk to you guys about how social media has become addicting and the effect that it's having on society, and how that can lead to problems with either sexual predators, identity theft, or just an addiction, which is what it is, we just we won't admit to. There was a study in 2014 that said that 46% of youth would be lost if they couldn't connect to social media. Like these children or teenagers, any individual from ages 13 to 24 said they didn't know what they would do if there was no social media. And that to me is just insane. Like I would go back to playing sports, I would start learning how to play guitar. Like there's so many things that we can do instead of, let me see what this person is posting today. And myself, I sit there for hours sometimes, especially now. I just recently took a break from work to focus on school, and I sit at home and all I do is sit on my phone, and I'm like, let me just make sure that person didn't text me, and maybe now they did, or like, okay, well maybe this person isn't in school, so maybe let's see what they're doing, or oh, who posted on Snapchat, what are they gonna do, maybe they wanna hang out, and it's like, it's a constant cycle, and the fact that so many people are becoming sucked in, they don't even realize, and we stick to our screens for so long that just hours pass. Like I've sat in front of my phone for hours, and I'll get home at noon, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, it's 6 in the afternoon, like I sat here wasting time. And that study showed that those individuals, a lot of them, 42% made up of just youth in the US. And then the 46% that said they would be lost without social media was worldwide. So this isn't something where it's just like, oh, people in California are stuck to their screens, or like people in Nevada, or like it's people all around the world that feel that connection to the internet. There's so many people who I've heard of stories where like, people are like, yeah, I'm dating this guy in Alaska, and it's like, what? And they're like, yeah, we met online, and or like I remember when I was younger, I would watch YouTube videos, and there was this girl that was just, like everybody loved her, and she was a famous YouTuber, and she was like, I'm gonna be my boyfriend for the first time, and I was like, what do you mean you're gonna be your boyfriend for the first time? Even at that time when, social media wasn't as addicting, I was like, you don't know your boy, like you're dating him and you don't know him, so it's like, if people are doing this, one of my close friends actually is dating a girl in a different state, and they're gonna unite this summer, according, they're gonna meet for the first time and start hanging out, and it's like, I don't know if that's even possible, like I'd like to think, because he's my friend, I'm like, okay, that's nice, like, good luck, I hope things work out, but it's something that's become, it's weird, it's like, we're so addicted to this thing, and, now with net neutrality, I don't know if you guys have heard about all that, but it's like, it's crazy to think that that's the point that we're coming to, and that it has to stop that way for us to be like, okay, now people are going crazy, and they're signing petitions, but they're like, I'm not gonna be able to go on Twitter, and it's like, maybe that's a good thing, maybe we need to kind of step back and see what we've kind of dived into. And with that being said, children especially, I feel, are becoming a lot more prone to be on the internet. Like I know my little brother goes crazy because my mom's like, no, you're not going to play Xbox Live, because he goes, and these kids a lot of the time don't even know who they're talking to, I've seen, there was a study, the same study in 2015 showed that when children were logging on into the internet, whether it be like Club Penguin, or like they were playing on their Xbox, playing Call of Duty with someone in a different state, or just a friend down the street, that study found that 28% of children interacted with predators not even knowing it. So once, you know, they found out who these people were, 28% of those individuals were sexual predators that were registered, and these parents had no idea, because they were like, yeah, go play, or, you know, like, we let it become such a socialized norm that we're like, you know, here's a phone, look at YouTube videos, instead of being like, let me take you to the park, or let's sit down and color, you know. And I think that's a sad thing, that children now, they're, you know, you'd rather give them an iPad or a phone, or you're like, sit in front of the TV. When I was working with individuals at the memory care facility, they were like, we are not going to do that, you know, it's so wrong to put someone in front of the TV. And it made me think, like, we do that with kids too, you know, and people are starting to do it in nursing homes, you know, where it's like, watch a movie, or, you know, just distract yourself so we don't have to watch you, and we don't have to know, and, you know, we don't have to worry about what you're doing. Also, when it comes to how I said sexual predators, like I was saying, 28% of these people were sexual predators, and we didn't even know it. 11% of those children shared intimate photos of themselves with, you know, people they didn't know. And then there was a 21% who were just complete strangers, where, you know, you just log into a chat room, for example, and you're like, hey, you know, I remember it was really popular at a time when people were going, I don't even remember the name, it was a website where you would go on and, like, people wouldn't even say hi, or like, hi, how are you? And it was like age, sex, state, or like, you know, and it was like, how could someone communicate? Like, just, I don't want to know how you are, I don't want to know who you are, just how old are you male or female, and what state are you in? And that to me is sickening, you know, that it was like, and so many people would tell me like, oh yeah, like, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, well, I'm talking to this person here, and I'm like, oh, you know, and they would tell me the name of the website, and I was like, I hear it more and more, and I don't even know what the website is anymore, because, you know, I've never got, you know, sucked into that, so like, that's kind of scary, you know, like, I don't know if I want to do that, but so many people do it, and it's crazy to me. There was stories that I read of people who would literally, like, I don't know if you guys, there's a documentary called Life 2.0, which is just, if you guys haven't watched it, it's really eye-opening. But it's people who create avatars and they become sucked up into a second life. There was an instance of a woman who had a family, was happily married, you know, had a house, she was a homeowner, she had 2 beautiful daughters, and she met a guy, and she was like, you know, he makes me feel good. And I was like, you know, at first when I was watching this documentary, I was like, that's kind of weird, okay, you know. But this woman ends up going and she meets this man at the airport, and she brings him to her house with her children, you know, and she's like, I love this man. And I was like, this woman is married, she has children, she has a home, she has a life. And, you know, at the end of the documentary, it ends up showing, you know, she left her husband, they moved from their home, she took her daughters with her, and she introduced this new man who months later divorced her. And I was like, I don't, like, people are becoming so wrapped up that it's just, you know, like, they get carried away. There was one man who made an avatar, and this, mind you, this man's like, you know, like 38 or something, and, you know, he was like, I feel like I'm supposed to be a little girl, and his avatar was a little 7-year-old girl, and he would go around playing with other men, grown men, who, you know, also were just, I want to be a little girl online, and they would do that. And, you know, women who, you know, there was one woman in Chicago who was like, you know, I feel in life I can't aspire to be someone, and I don't have anything to look forward to, but when I log into Life 2.0, I have a business, and I have a house, and I'm rich. And I was like, you're not, though, you're just sucked into this world, you know. But, and so many people, there was an article released, it's called Hiding Behind the Screen by Robert Scruton, and he said, you know, basically just emphasize, people are becoming so wrapped up that they don't have personal connections. You know, when they go outside, they don't walk down the street and they see someone, they're like, okay, and they smile, you know, like, they log on and they have friends online, and that's their most personal connection, because they've accustomed themselves to that. They can't go outside and, you know, carry on a normal friendship, because this is what we're so used to, and it's becoming really addicting to the point where, you know, we're talking to strangers we don't know, and especially children, because they get so caught up in things, and they're so naive and, you know, so susceptible, that it's easy for them to just fall into that. And especially with, like I said, parents who don't know what their children are doing, and they're just like, here, have a phone. Or, you know, even us, you know, just getting our identity. There was, I think, it was, yeah, 11% sharing intimate photos, you know, and there was another smaller percentage of them who were even going this far as to, like, here's my address, or here's my phone number, call me. And I was like, that's not, we have to protect not only ourselves as a society, but also our children and the things that we're putting out there, you know, whether it be like the mindset that we're putting into children for the future, or just, you know, us going home and being lonely. You know, I think that there's so much more that we could be doing to, you know, not have to be stuck to a screen, because it is an addiction and it's something that's harming our society in very different ways. Thank you.
All right, Allison, what did you think? Not, oh, missed it. All right, well, I'll make my comments and I'll keep them relatively quick. Personal story at the beginning was interesting. I thought that you led from a more general idea about your social media past to the more specific criticism that you had pretty well. The purpose statement is clearly stated. There's a good preview. Some of the supporting points I'm not sure necessarily connect to the idea of addiction. There are other issues about online life that I think you kind of drift off into as well. So it becomes a little bit broader than it sounded like it was going to be at the beginning of the speech. I could see some signposts in the body of the speech, so I think it's relatively well organized, although I do think you go on some tangents occasionally. The first research that you cited with the statistical information needs a better source citation, but after that I thought that you did a pretty good job citing information and telling us where you got the example of the story that you're talking about. You mentioned the documentary and the articles that you utilized. I thought that was pretty effective. Delivery issues, you're solid on almost everything. One thing, I don't have a specific category to ding you on, otherwise I would. You've got a catchphrase that you use as a transition. It's like a vocalized pause continuously, and you need to break yourself of the habit of it. Do you know what it is? Do you know what it is? Do you know what it is? You know is your transition phrase. Anytime you've got trying to get from one idea to another, you stick in a you know. And I didn't count them. One of the things you might want to do in watching your own speech is count them and see how many times you do that. And I think suddenly you'll hit yourself in the forehead and say, oh my gosh, I'm doing that way more than I need to. And that's the way you kind of figure out how to stop doing that. All right, thank you.